Hey y'all, I wanted to take the time to make a follow-up video to my previous one about the hidden legendary buffs that were in Shadowgun Legends PvP prior to update 0.8.4. But due to feedback from the community, MFG did remove the legendary buff. So what's important to note is that the rarity of armor doesn't impact damage or resistance at all. You could wear legendary, epic, common, rare, armor, whatever it is, and there is no difference in kind of the underlying hidden buffs that used to be there. Now, obviously, epic and legendary pieces are preferable because they have more perks than the lower rarity pieces. And myself, I wear all epic armor in PvP just because of the numerous events that we've had, all the farming that I've done. I've just gotten a lot better epic armor than I have legendary armor. I have a few good legendary pieces, but I still wear epics, and cosmetically I prefer it too. So I wanted to dispel kind of a few things that I've seen thrown out there. Number one is that wearing all armor pieces of the same set, so if you wear a full set of Bulldozer or a full set of Invictus, that you'll actually get some resistance out of this. And that's just not true. I've tested this extensively, and it just doesn't add up. The other thing that I wanted to clarify is that the buffs from the Bar of War and the Casino are working. However, the numbers that you see on the screen may not reflect the actual damage dealt. So I tested this because I run with a build that has 9 points in survival. I automatically have 5% projectile resistance from skills, and then I wanted to test the extra 15% resistance from the bar. And in looking just at the numbers on the screen, when I was testing it, it didn't look like the projectile resistance from the bar made a difference. But when I was actually looking at how my HP was going down and how much it was going down, I did find that that extra 15% does make a difference. So it can be as much as 1 to 2 points of difference if you're talking about a 9-point survival loadout with the 15% projectile resistance buff. It could make a 2-point difference as far as primary damage goes. So it's very, very worth grabbing if you're into the whole damage mitigation strategy over boosting your crit or anything else like that. The only other thing I'll mention about the PvP system is the way that damage works. So I don't want to go into this too heavily, but the easiest way to explain it is this. So every weapon, regardless of rarity, has the same damage multiplier applied to it. So before, you had kind of different multipliers based on the rarity of items. So legendaries were like 11.7%. Epics had kind of 2 tiers of rarity because you had Shadow and Fire Fist Spear. They had one kind of damage multiplier, and then a common epic like Utani would have another one. So those are around like 10.1 and 9 something. I can't remember exactly. But the way it works now is that if you were to take any rarity of weapon, you multiply its base damage at 270 power by a very weird percentage. It's roughly 8%, but for any of you that are, calculating stuff on the side, it's 7.9545455%. Yes, I know that's ridiculous, but the math actually works out, and that's the percentage that's applied to it. So this applies to every weapon in the game. So if you were to calculate damage for a weapon in PvP, you would first take the PvE base damage at 270 power that's stated on the information card, multiply it by that 7.9%, and then you factor in any resistance after that. So if you have the 5% projectile resistance, as well as the 15% from the bar, that's 20%. So then you would take that 20% haircut off of the base damage, and you arrive at this kind of adjusted base damage. Then you would add any of your damage boosts on top of that. So if you've got anything on your gloves, if you've got a damage buff from the bar, or if you've got any kind of skills, Gunslinger, Lord of War, those damage buffs apply after on the adjusted base damage. So it's not the initial base damage before resistance, but it's after resistance. So let's say if your PvP base damage is 10 and your opponent has 20% resistance, then your new adjusted base damage is 8. So if you've got a 10% boost to damage, then that's 8.8, not it wouldn't be an additional 1 point, so it wouldn't be 9 because it's not 10% of the original base damage of 10. It's 10% of the adjusted base damage when you factor in resistance. So this is really just what I wanted to cover, just as quickly as I could, about how the mechanics work nowadays in update 0.8.6. So in short, rarity of armor really doesn't matter. Most people I see are running kind of full epic armor sets just because they have better perks on them. And weapons, they've all kind of been normalized to have just the same damage multiplier applied to all of them. So this makes rare weapons viable. It makes epic weapons viable, in addition to legendary weapons. So there's a ton of weapons that are usable in this meta. And one thing I'll leave you with before I go is kind of looking back to some of the Reddit and Facebook posts that I've made about which guns to choose in PvP. What I really started to do in my approach is, because I don't like the extended time to kill that's in this current meta, I tried to find the guns that would kill in the least amount of shots possible, and also take the lowest percentage of their clip to actually kill someone. So in this case, it would kind of feel like your time to kill was lower because you didn't have to use more than one clip to kill somebody, and it would take as few shots as possible to kill someone. So these are the stats I kind of look at. That's prioritizes kind of the higher base damage guns. Shadow, Faraday, Fire Fist Spewer. My personal favorite is Cutlass. And then the shotguns, it obviously favors the higher damage shotguns, Firagini, Nebula, Starskull, and the SMGs. The Tommy Knocker is actually really good as far as just looking at that stat. I know the accuracy isn't all that great, but it does take a much lower amount of shots to kill someone than some of the other SMGs. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to throw this out there for anyone that was interested in, kind of where is PvP now, after, for the people that have seen my video before and what I made to MFG explaining how the legendary buff works in PvP. Just wanted to throw it out there so that you guys are aware of how this current meta works, and if you have any questions or if you want any advice on kind of what loadout to run with or what gun to choose, just hit me up here, hit me up on Discord, and I'd be happy to help.